Hi there, welcome to Memory Keeping Monday. My name is Shannon Tidwell. I'm Garden Girl at Two Peas in a Bucket. And it's my turn to share a layout and video with you guys this week. As you know, we have been concentrating on using tools throughout the month of June. And for this layout, what I decided to do is just gather up some of my favorite tools and see what I can come up with. So to start out the layout, I decided to use my favorite tool, the tool of all tools, the silhouette. I am still using my original silhouette, and so that just goes to show you that even though tools are sometimes a larger investment to start with, you'll be able to use them for years and years. Even though there are upgrades available, the originals still work wonderfully. So my starting point with this layout, I had an idea to repeat the title several times using some sort of neutral pattern papers. And so the first one I cut pretty large. And you can also see that whenever I sent it through my silhouette machine, I kind of put it too close to the edge and it cut off part of the S. But instead of redoing it and wasting a piece of paper, I decided just to make do with it. And actually, I like the way it turned out, that it was flush with the left edge of my paper. So it worked out good, and I just kind of rolled with the little mistake that I made. You'll also see throughout this layout that I'm using my Scotch ATG gun, and some people I know maybe think this is kind of large tape dispenser to use, especially on smaller items, but I found that it works really well and I'm able to get it in small places, and I really love how manageable the adhesive is. If I don't like something, I can pull it up a little bit and move it around. It has a little bit of leeway but still sticks really well. I will also be adding machine stitching on the layout as we go to different elements. You can see that I did a straight stitch along the left side of the S over there on the sushi, and then I also did a zigzag stitch along the bottom to kind of connect those two pieces. And now I'm going to add the photo. I decided to go ahead and put pop dots on the photo just to kind of give it a little bit of a dimension off the page to kind of stand away from the rest of the titles I'm going to be adding to the page. And you can see that I'm adding the photo over the decorative element on this pattern paper. Even though it's a pretty element, it doesn't really go with this layout. And here I've got my second title. You can see that it's the same font. All I did was shrink it down just a tad in the Silhouette software and then cut it out of another neutral type of pattern paper. And I'm going to go ahead and layer it on top of the larger sushi. And here I've got my third title. I once again used a neutral colored pattern paper, just a little bit of a different pattern that'll mix well with the others. I again used the same font, shrunk it down a little bit, and that way it'll fit right in that spot and everything will layer together really nicely. By layering these titles together in the background, I've created a nice neutral but interesting background that I can now add some bright colored embellishments to dress it up. Okay, so you can see that I added a little bit more machine stitching, a line to each of the different sushi titles that I added to the page. And now I'm going to add just a little snippet of this Heidi Swap border to the top of the page. So I had several different ideas and played around with several different things to dot the I's on each of my sushi titles. And what I ended up doing was grabbing these wood veneer embellishments by Studio Calico. But I thought that they needed a little bit of color to the page because now, since I have such a neutral background, I wanted to add in several different splashes of color just in small doses around the page. So what I decided to do was add some glitter. I'm just using some liquid adhesive that I had because my regular glitter glue was all clogged up. So this clear adhesive worked great. And I just covered each of the hearts pretty good and then covered it with the yellow glitter and let it dry. I use the Doodlebug glitter because that's what I have on hand, but there are other brands in the two-piece store that I'll link up so you can find some glitter for yourself if you need to get some. So now I needed a spot to add my journaling and to also kind of be a base for some more embellishments. And I found this neat little craft pocket. It's actually from part of the Ditto journaling pack from Hampton Art. It was a little bit bigger than what I needed, so what I decided to do is just adhere the part that I needed on to my page, and then what I'm going to do is just cut off the excess on the bottom. And to keep my journaling cards from falling out, what I'm going to do is just go ahead and send it through my sewing machine and stitch across the bottom, and that way my journaling cards will stay inside my little pocket. Okay, I've got my little pocket sewn across the bottom so I can put my journaling cards in there. And now I'm going to work on just adding some embellishments around the page. I've got this cute little bow that's from Heidi Swap that I thought would add a nice little touch, and I think the yellow will go nicely with the yellow hearts that are drawing for my dotted eyes. So now I'm going to pick a couple different journaling cards to put in there, and I'm going to layer a couple different ones in, and I just dug through my little stash until I found a couple that I thought added the splash of color that I needed in that spot. Even though I didn't use the random journaling card a second ago in my pocket, it did give me an idea for using something about it being a random thing that we got a puppy that day. And so I found this little snippet from a Hello Forever die cut card, and I thought it would help tell the story of our puppy buying adventure. And here I am again, just adding a bright spot on the page. I love these neon photo corners by Heidi Swap. They're perfect when you need an extra splash of color. And now I'm going to use another one of my favorite tools, this Fiskars Punch. It's the File Tab Punch by Jenny Bolin. I am using another striped paper in a fun blue. This is Echo Park. And I'm going to use yet another tool to attach it onto the journaling card, the Tiny Attacher by Tim Holtz. I think you can see now how I'm getting just little splashes of color all over the page. And even though there are different colors, the blue, the yellow, and the red, it's all starting to coordinate together. I found this fun little flapper photo tab kind of thing to use, and they confuse me a bit. I don't know which way to fold them, but I don't like to fold them so that I don't see part of the pattern. That seems to be defeating the purpose of the cute pattern on the little flapper. So what I do, I've been folding them kind of backwards, I guess, and letting them both the sides stick up on the page. And then I'll just add a little machine stitching to it to hold it in place real good. All right, so here you're going to see a totally random idea come into play. And thank goodness it ends up working. But I was just thinking about what other tools I had on hand that I could use on this page. And then I remembered a circle cutter that I have stashed away. And so I grabbed it out and thought it would be fun to cut out part of the page of a circle. And it just happened to work exactly where I could cut out the smaller of the Sushi titles. So what I did is I cut out that circle, and what I'm going to do is back up that circle with another pattern paper. And I just chose the same blue pattern paper that I used for the File Tab Punch earlier, but I'm going to actually put the polka dot pattern face up. And even though you won't be seeing much of this pattern paper because I'm going to cover it back up with the section that I cut out, that way if you look at it from the side or from an angle, you will see the blue pattern paper underneath the circle that I cut. So here I'm going to add some pop dots onto the back of the circle that I originally cut out. You can see that I did add some machine stitching around the edge of it just to give it a little bit dimension, a little bit of texture, and help it stand out from the page where I cut it out. So cutting this circle out of the page was a completely random idea, and thank goodness it did work, but it's also a perfect example why I enjoy kind of letting my pages come together as I go, and I don't do much pre-planning ahead of time. Otherwise, I might not have let myself give it a try. And now my cute little hearts are just about dry enough to adhere on the page anyway. So I'm just using the same adhesive that I used to glitter them, and I'm putting a dot where I want them over each of the eyes on my title, and I'm going to go ahead and just drop them down into the adhesive and let them dry. You can see that I did add that bit of stitching up there to the heart flapper. And now I'm going to use my corner chomper to round just one of the edges on the background pattern paper just to give it a little bit of interest to the eye. You could use a corner rounder punch as well. I'm not a big stamper, but I decided to go ahead and give my Dear Lizzie little date stamper a try and use it to stamp the big day and then the date onto my journaling card pocket. So now I'm going to add a few more embellishments to the page. You can kind of see that my embellishments are grouped in two different areas, the top left and then the bottom right. And that kind of helps balance the page out. If I had embellishments on both sides, or it might seem a little bit heavy to one side. So that's why I'm kind of got it balanced out on each side. I've decided to use these cute little flags. I've got the Bella Boulevard flags, and then I'm going to add some tape just to some pins and add as embellishments as well. I love being able to poke these little pins into the pop dots behind embellishment. That makes them really easy to use on the page. And then you can see as soon as I got the pin up there with the red heart, I immediately took it out because to me it was too close to the other red heart that I had at the top of the page. So I pulled it out and stuck it on the right side of the page and then found a different pin to use and wrap with the same yellow tape. As usual, I save my journaling to do towards the very end. I'd kind of forgotten that I hadn't used my fringe scissors yet on this layout, and I love my fringe scissors. I haven't used them in a while, so this was a great opportunity to figure out a way to include them on the page. So what I did was just cut a section of the pattern paper. This is just the back of the lined pattern paper that I used for the largest sushi, and I cut some long fringe in it, added some adhesive to the back, and then I'm just going to tuck it in kind of behind the page, and this just adds a little bit of extra dimension. Always just looking for different ways to add just an extra little fun touch to the page. To give it a little bit more dimension, what I did was just twist some of the pieces of fringe around a tiny paintbrush, and that way they kind of curl around, and I just did it to a few of them just to kind of give it a fun extra touch. And you could say that this curly fringe helps tie the layout together with the fuzzy little dog in the picture. So it looks like here that I've finished this layout, I think. If you take a look at it, you can see that my layout kind of balances with, like I said, the groups of embellishments both on the left top and then the bottom right. And that kind of helps keep the layout balanced without being too top heavy or bottom heavy or heavy on one side. And then you can also see that I've got several visual triangles, both the yellow and the red on the page. I can honestly say that I put quite a few tools to use on this page, and I'm really happy with the results. And that just goes to show what a great investment tools are for your scrapbook stash. So if you're like me and you have some tools maybe that you've ignored for a while, my challenge to you this week is to grab one of those tools out that's been collecting dust and give it a try. I'm pretty sure you won't be disappointed with the results. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this Memory Keeping Monday segment. I realize that some of the tools I may have used aren't available at Two Peas in a Bucket anymore because some of them are older, but I have tried to link anything that has a newer edition maybe, or some alternative ideas for using tools that are similar to the ones I used. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me through Two Peas in a Bucket or shoot me an email. Thanks a lot and have a great week.